Whatever is offered to me with true devotion, if only a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or a sip of water, I accept it, because it is given with love.
Every person on the spiritual journey will have to go through their fears. You have to confront them. You cannot run away from them. And this is what Arjuna wants to do. He wants to run away from his inner battle. I mean, they use an outer battle as an analogy, but really it's our inner battle. And we have battles. We have battles with family, we have battles with friends, we have battles with situations, we have battles with life. And you cannot escape those battles. You have to go through it, and it's gonna hurt, because the people that are gonna hurt you, like Krishna, like with Arjuna, was his own family, his own teacher, his own people. And how was he going to go through this terrible journey? He wanted to run away and not face his fears, but Krishna told him in chapter 2, if you do that, you're a coward. And what an example are you when you've been made such a strong warrior and you walk away as a coward? You haven't lived your life's mission. We all have a mission. Some people have to fight, some people have to pray, some people have to dance, some people have to sing. Truth is one? So many. But live in that spirit of bravery. Live in that spirit, because when you chant the holy names and you repeat your mantra constantly, you will undoubtedly win. But let Krishna tell us all this. So we will go back to chapter 9. So Sloka 26. Whatever is offered to me with true devotion. So here we have the puja table. And here what have we offered? Offer a little bit rice and thank the divine for our food, and may we feed everybody who comes through our doors. Little water, may we be pure thinking. Without water we cannot live. Jai Ganga, Ganga's river Ganges. Jai Mata is Mother Nature. Is Mother Nature's mother. Mother lives in all of us as Shakti. Shakti is the Kundalini energy that lives in the base of our spine and awakens to our spiritual nature. She tells us, she's Mother Nature. She tells us, she gives us the force. And when you chant, that force awakens. When you do a puja, the force awakens. But it can only awaken when it's done with real love. So it doesn't matter, you give water, give a little milk. It's just all symbolic. It's symbolic, but it's done with love, because the divine is really in us. It's in us, but it's for as human beings, it's really hard for us to see this. And when some people do see it, what do they think? Then they think, I am God, and they become arrogant and they misuse the powers that are given to them. Because you can know it, and then you can misuse the powers and use it for self-growth. And this is why all the greatest masters taught us all the time. Remember, if you follow this path, we will give you everything you want, but you've got to realize that nothing is yours anyway. And that's where the non-attachment comes. So even though you get everything you want, be careful, there's another trap right in there. See, the traps don't stop. So you get everything you want. How do you work with non-attachment then? And here he tells us, by remembering that this is just a play, to be involved and remember that you are spirit and energy flowing through this period of your life called a human body. We don't know you're going to have one the next time. We have one this time. So let us enjoy this body. So puja is whatever you give to the divine. And there's a lovely story in our scriptures about this king, this Maharaja, who was so wealthy, and he was so in love with this force, this inner force called God. And he said, you know what? I am going to build the most amazing temple. And everybody will say, I built this for God. So he went to his temple every day and go, I'm going to build you this amazing temple, God. And he did. He built this amazing temple. And everybody that passed went, wow, his devotion to the divine is incredible. And one night when he was sitting in his prayer room, they say, so are you happy with me? You see what I did? I made this temple. I am so proud of my temple for you. And so there was a voice who said, oh, my son, I am so grateful for this beautiful temple. And many people are giving you the credit for building the temple. But there is a village, and there is a man there in this village. I'd like you to meet him because his temple is the best on this earth. And the king got really upset, and he goes, better than mine? Better than mine? Cannot be better than mine. So he went to this village and he said, I want to know where your beautiful temple is. There's no temple in our village. We are all so poor. There is absolutely no temple here. And so he says, no, there has to be, because God would not lie to you. I heard the inner voice. I heard the voice say, in this village. And an old woman passed by and she said, there is one man in this village. He has a very small home, but there's nobody like his devotion. And we all, when we see him, we feel elevated by his energy. So the king thought, okay, take me there. So he went to this home and he was shocked because it was just a hut. And the hut was so small, the bed was in the corner and the rest of the place was a temple. And he goes, welcome to the divine home, the home that belongs to the divine. I am only a caretaker. And then he heard, you see, my son, it is given with love and no ego. Do you see the difference? And this is what it is talking about here. And 27, Sloka 27. Whatever you do, Arjuna, make that an offering, whether it's eating, sacrificing yourself, giving help, or even your suffering, tapas, offer it to me. So whatever you do, just give it to me. So you get praise, yours. If you get insulted, your problem, God, not mine. You know, you reside in my body. I'm not going to take it personally. This is my human practice. This is my human practice, so of course I'm going to feel hurt, but not my problem. I'm not going to panic over it. You brought it to me, you sought it, I'm going to stay with my peace. When you do everything like that, you become really happy. And this comes to mind something that happened to me, and I was so happy when I experienced this. It was many, many years ago when I was in India. And we were told that Swami Satchidananda had invited Swami Chidananda to come to the ashram to talk. And I was staying at the ashram in India, in Coimbatore at that time. And I was given the job. They said, Nalanie, oh, you come from good family. You know how to serve tea. They're coming here for tea before the talk. Now, you all know Sri Swami Satchidananda. But Swami Chidananda, whoa, was his brother monk. And together, you're talking about explosion of love dynamite in the room. You're just talking about that, you know. And Chidananda he was very weak, and when he came on stage later, he chanted St. Francis's prayer, and he was like, make me a channel of your peace. And the whole room was crying, and Gurudev and him sitting on the stage. I digress. Let's go back to the story. So I was like so excited. I can make tea for these great souls. And then I go into the ashram kitchen and I saw the cups. Everything was so old. Everything was so ugly. And I go, we can't serve two great masters with these things. Nalanie, what do we do? I said, I'll buy it. That will be my gift for the ashram. He said, but we have no car to take you. I said, Kartikeyan, take me on your motorbike. I'll go on your motorbike. So I went on the back of his motorbike. He took me to this lovely shop. It was fun, really fun. And then we bought this lovely tea set. And then I go, Kartikeyan, not enough, but we need to buy some helium balloons to make the room pretty. We need to buy some tablecloths to make the room pretty. He said, oh, Nalanie, this is so much fun. So we got the tablecloth, the beautiful tablecloth, then we got the helium balloons, then we went back to the ashram running, washing everything and making everything beautiful for the masters. Come 4 o'clock. Dressed up in a beautiful sari for Gurudev. 4 o'clock comes. Chidananda's train is delayed, so Gurudev said he can't come, it's impolite, without Chidananda. So we'll wait, no problems. I'm sitting there, twiddling, okay, the cakes, they might get a bit dry, get a damp cloth, put it on top. You know, when you're serving the master, it's really like, oh my God, I just got to get everything just perfectly right. Sandwiches might dry up, hurry, put a damp cloth, you know that, right? To put damp cloth over sandwiches so it doesn't dry up. So 4:30, looking at the clock, can't wait. 5 o'clock, another phone call. Train is still delayed. 5:30, I don't think there'll be time for tea. Train is still not here. 6 o'clock was satsang time. Still not here. So I said, should we pack everything? I said, no. We had so much joy. Let's not forget the joy we had in doing this. It doesn't matter. We just had so much fun. And I said, now the ashram, you give it to all the ashramites to eat all this stuff and don't worry about it. And so we went down and then we had the most amazing satsang. The point was, I remember so clearly at that point in my life, I was so grateful not to be affected by any of it. I was just glad to do the job. I was asked to do the job and I did it to the best of my ability. The joy was in that. And it was such a great lesson for me because the next time, it didn't matter if I was disappointed. It didn't matter if I cooked something and it turned out bad or if people didn't turn up when they promised to, because it was the fun of arranging. And this is what he's saying. When you work with that love in your heart, when you work like that, then it really doesn't matter. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've finally grown up. I've finally grown up. And that's such a feeling of freedom that I've grown up, you know. I think a few years before that, I would have felt horrible and cried and, you know, all that money I spent and nobody even saw it or anything. Really, I mean, that's the way I used to think before. And now it was like, wow, doesn't matter. I enjoyed. And so when you work like that, and even your suffering, he says, when you suffer, okay, you know, the worst thing you can do is poor me. Whenever you suffer, the new language should be, why not me? Why not me? Everybody else suffers. Why not me? I know how to handle it. So it's lucky that it's come to me because I can handle it. I know how. Then you get so grateful. Thank you. Like I always say, thank you, Gurudev, for teaching me this science because at least I can handle it. And when I see many of my patients and they suffer so much, some of them suffer so much, and they really can't handle it. And I think, oh my God, it's not their fault. They weren't given this treasure. And this is why we need to share it as all of us as devotees of the divine energy. We need to share this. When people need us, they'll call us. We don't have to run there. Remember, when you need to be used, you will be used. And do it for the sake of the divine in you. And he says, if you do it for me, then you have no responsibility. Good luck? Bad luck? Who knows? Don't carry the weight on your shoulders when you don't need to, because there's somebody else or a force carrying it for us. And then Sloka 28. In this way, you free yourself from the bondage of karma and its good or bad results. Through this yoga, you thus achieve true renunciation, sannyas, of personal desires, and come to me in a state of liberation. It's just what I explained. When you work for the divine and no ownership, and you do it for the love of it, what happens? You feel liberated, because whether the result is good, whether the result is bad, it doesn't matter. The joy wasn't doing it. The joy wasn't doing it. And that is what is important. 29. I am the same towards all beings. Before me, no one is hateful, and no one is more or less cherished. However, those who lovingly worship me will realize that they are actually part of me and that I live in them. So here the divine is saying, it's like the sun, saying, I shine on everybody. Whether you want to come out and enjoy me or not, that's up to you. But if you come and worship me and you sit with me, then you'll feel that energy. But if you choose to lock yourself in a dark room, then that's your choice, right? So those who worship me, it's not like God wants to be worshipped, but when we're in that energy field, we will get the results of that love. Simple. So not complicated. So 30. Even if the worst sinner devotes his life to me with firm resolve, he will be transformed into a saint. And here he's saying, when you take on this practice, even the worst sinner can become a saint. When it's done with pure love. We see many people, and I think many of you do too, that come to yoga and they practice a few days here, a few days there, get a little bit of clairvoyance, clairaudience, and they think, I am so great. And that he's not talking about that kind of person. He's talking about somebody who's really, in his life has done, or her life done, so many wrong things and so tired of it now, and goes straight into devotion. That's what he's talking about. And I've seen this with many of the people I've met in my life, and who've done horrible things. I think I've told you the story about that prisoner once who came into my office many years ago in Gibraltar, and he came to my office. He was really dirty and smelly, and some of my students outside was telling him to leave, and I heard all the commotion. They go, why are you telling this man to leave? And he came into my office. I said, go away, no judgment here. Because you could see, you can have a man coming to your house or your office that looks dirty. It could be a real crook. The secret is to look at the eyes. Discriminative? Discernment. Another time, so I looked at his eyes, and his eyes were pleading. I just want to know God. I want to change. He was Arab. He was Moroccan. I just want to know God. I want to change my life. My parents taught me about God, and all I've done is stolen and been in prison for 42 years. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to go back to God, what my parents taught me. I just want to be free, is what he said. So I sat with him, and I said, he says, I don't know where I went. I stole, I hurt people, but I'm done. He says, I've been out of prison for a year, and nobody will give me a job. Look at me. And I said, where are you staying? He said, I'm staying in the cemetery. I said, for a year? He said, yes, but I don't want to steal. That's why, I don't know what, somebody said there is a center here, so I came up. And they said to look for the lady in charge. So he said, are you the lady in charge? I said, I'm the lady in charge. So I said, don't worry. You really, really, really want God? He goes, I really want God. So I said, yeah, listen, I can change. Of course you can change. We all can. But it's up to you. It's not up to me. I can't do it. So he said, I have no clothes. I said, don't worry. Come here tomorrow at noon. And what we'll do is, I'll speak to the Sangha, find out if anybody has your size clothes, and come in. In those days, we had a little shower at the yoga hall, in Gibraltar. I said, you can come and take a shower, we'll bring a towel for you, and let's take one step at a time. But I'm going into satsang now. If you don't mind, I'm going to take you in with me, and I'm going to ask everybody to pray for you. And I said, do you mind? Are you feeling ashamed? I wanted to test his ego. Was he really, really sincere? And he said, no, anything. Just take me in. Anybody can help me. So anyway, we took him in. I told the Sangha, this is him. And next day, true enough, they're so good. The Sangha is so good. They brought the clothes for him. He came at midday. He put on the clothes. And the following day he comes, and you're not going to believe it, he got a job. He got a job as a parking attendant at night from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning, but at least he got a job. And he was like crying. Honestly, he was crying tears, saying, there is a God, God found me. And he was a different man. I never saw him again, but it didn't matter. That was my story with him. And I saw like a sinner literally turn for me into a saint, because he was glowing. There was, you could see there was no more malice in that face. There was no more malice. 31. For soon he becomes a person of Dharma, righteousness, and discovers lasting peace. This is certain, Arjuna. My devotee cannot be harmed. Isn't that lovely to hear? This is for certain. My devotee cannot be harmed. 32. No matter your birth, race, sex, or caste, even if you are scorned by others, if you take refuge in me, then certainly you will attain the supreme goal. So this is what we were talking about early on. Take refuge. And there's a couple in the ashram called Satya and Sadashiva. And he wrote a song. And one of the lines I constantly repeat is, I don't know the whole song, I don't remember it, but I remember these two lines, and it goes, refuge, refuge, I seek in you. Sachidananda Guru, I love you. And I just loved it. Refuge, refuge, I seek in you. Sachidananda Guru, I love you. And I love these lines. And Satchit Ananda means truth, knowledge, bliss. Right? So when you are doing that, you really refuge. When things go wrong, you really when you feel that pain in your heart, as we humans do. We have to feel pain. We're human. Sloka 33. Even the saintly kings and holy sages, through devotion, seek this very goal. Therefore, if you find yourself in this transient world of suffering, just turn to me. Just turn to me. So if you're feeling the suffering and you're feeling the pain, just repeat the mantra, just pray, just sing, and know without doubt, all will be well. All will. Ultimately, everything becomes well in the end. We saw it after the Second World War. We saw it after the First World War. We see it now with COVID. Everything will be well. We just need to trust. Everything happens to awaken mankind to come back to ourselves. But the moment we are comfortable materially, guess what? That's when we become greedy. That's when we forget. That's when we're a pain in the neck to the world. And that's when we just buy, consume, and no thought of Mother Earth. So things have to happen. And all the rest is discussion in the middle. But we had to have the bad guys in order for us to wake up. We had to have our friend, the beautiful virus, to wake us up. If it wasn't for all the diversiveness that's happening, many people will still be caught in the outside world. One day. Now they have to look in. How many people have looked into their marriages since this has happened? How many people have looked into their lives? How many people looked into their souls and asked the question, am I truthful to myself? Am I living this life truthfully? Am I devoted? Because all that outside is shut out to me now. I am truly not part of the outside world anymore. Who am I? Without the identification of the material things, without the identification that somebody else gives me. Who am I? Some people couldn't handle it. The ego couldn't handle being nothing. And when you know, wow, many yogis said, oh, Nalanie, I love this time. I have time to catch up. I'm more busy now than ever. Music to my ears, that means you found the peace within you. You found the peace within you. You could be quiet and enjoy the silence. You could be at home with nobody caring and nobody wanting anything from you and just be content. Sri Patanjali, by the practice of contentment, what happens?
Supreme joy is gained.
And that's what it's all about. Because there is so much suffering. I mean, if you really think Sri Patanjali tells us as well, you know, to a person of discrimination, they start to realize that all things are painful. How depressing. When I read that line, I thought, how depressing. But it's not depressing at all. When I started to understand it, I really understood it wasn't, because ultimately we all die, right? And that's what Buddha found out. When he went out for the first time, they kept him so safe in his home, in his wealthy home. And when he went out the first time and he saw old age and he saw sickness and he saw death and he saw suffering, and he goes, what is all this anyway? What is life all about? And that's when you change, because you look for something deeper. So when you understand, well, if you don't love me, I'm going to fall apart. If I don't have this, I'll never be happy. How dare you? You're living total codependency on everything else. Nearly everybody I know is an addict. Except for those who start to realize this path and go, you know what, I'm really here transient. I'm here for a short while. And how do I want to play this part that I'm given? And so that's the idea of this whole play. And then you don't see it as suffering. You start to see it as challenges to take you within. Then you think, wow, I'm really loved a lot, am I not? I think I got so many challenges thrown my way. Wow, I'm so lucky. And then when the challenges come and you transcend them and you get to the other side, that's when you taste your beautiful honey of, wow, you know what? I don't have that mind stuff, that tantrum. Why and but and if and why and da 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 da. I just have, it's happened. It is as it is. Deal with it. Just deal with it. What's all that chitta chatta about? Just deal with it. Just make a decision and do it. Either way, good or bad, just do it. Nobody's judging you but yourself. Just do it. But all this da 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 da. Yeah, and that's suffering. That is suffering. And just to sit and smile and have a nice chat and talk about lovely things. And you can talk about anything. And if you don't take it seriously, it's just take it with a pinch of salt. Everything becomes divine. So, Sloka 34. Think of me constantly. Devote your life to me. Offer all your actions to me. And bow down and surrender before me. Thus you become steady on your path to the supreme goal and come unto me. Now this sloka, we are talking about Ishvara Pranidhanam. What does that mean? Complete surrender to the divine, whatever you see it as, God, Jesus, Moses, nature, whatever you see it as. Nothing, consciousness is what it really is. It's really just consciousness. And it says, but when you bow down to that consciousness, to that force, then that force looks after you. And I love it in yoga, in the Hatha yoga class. I love to do the yoga mudra, which is the last posture where we sit in a comfortable cross-legged position. We can't sit on this chair, and then we put our hands behind our back, and then we bow all the way down, and then we slowly lift. And every time I do the yoga mudra, I think, teach me whatever you need to, show me whatever you need to show. I accept all, I accept all, I accept all. Just teach me and let me never hurt anybody purposely. And that's my personal practice whenever I do yoga mudra. And I always tell my students, I say, you know, the Asians say the seat of the soul lies in your solar plexus. The seat. So we're awakening that seat with humility. It has to be with humility, because if you think you know it all, then it's like the Buddhist story. You can put as much water into the cup, but if it's full, you can't add more. But if it's empty, there's lots to take in. There's lots to learn. Life offers so many opportunities daily. Everybody teaches us something daily. If you see it that way, you can learn from everything in life. And it'll always give you inspiration. But if you think, oh, you know, I know all about consciousness, I know there's an energy, I know there's this, but, you know, quite depressing, I really, you know, there's nothing more for me to know. You haven't got it. You haven't got to the state of bliss. So don't give up. Don't give up. You're tried, we are all tried until we come to that stage, and you will go through a stage where you're going to feel, what for? You know, what's all this for? Just surrender then. You have a plan better for me than I know. My plan doesn't seem to work out too well, so tell me, guide me. That's it. My job is just to love every moment. I'll try. And if I don't, I'll apologize and start again, but I will learn from my mistakes. This is really important, because Les and I were talking about people that we know that keep making mistakes and then keep saying sorry and then doing it again and again. We know quite a few people that do that, and kids too, you know. And I tell parents, your child makes a mistake. They say sorry and they do it again. They do it 100 times. You haven't given them the right training. You know, you need to sometimes, you know, when my son refused to say, he was the other way, refused to say sorry when he was young. No, you did something wrong, say sorry. No. Okay, no problem. You're staying in your room, not having dinner until you learn to say sorry. And I really detached. Put him in his room. He must have been very young, maybe 4 or 5, I don't remember. Very, very young. I go, what arrogance at that age. What arrogance, because it's arrogance, right? You can see people can develop arrogance from a very young age. So proud. So I go, well, be proud and you go into the room. And, you know, I didn't give him food. And he came to my room at midnight. And he said, Mommy, I'm really, really, really sorry. I'm so hungry. And after that, I remember when he was playing ball in my sitting room and he broke this really expensive crystal vase. He called me right away. I was working in a shop. Mom, I did something horrible. What did you do, darling? I played ball. It was a little apartment. And in the house, I said, oh. I said, what happened? And he goes, I broke your favorite crystal vase. And I said, oh. He said, Mom, I'm really sorry. I'll take my pocket money and I'll buy you a new one. I said, no, it's fine. You're really sorry. It's done. Don't play ball in the room again. It's a small apartment. You want to play ball? Go in the garden. No problem. Aren't you going to punish me? What for? You really feel bad? You really want to make up for it? There's nothing to punish. Sure, Mom? Sure. And I went home, gave me the biggest, there was nothing to punish, it's only glass. You learned the lesson. You said sorry, you called me, you didn't lie. You know how kids like to lie to their parents, hide everything. I didn't do it, somebody else dropped it. You didn't lie. To me, this is the most important thing. You did not lie, and you had the courage to call me. You see, and this is what we need to have the courage And sometimes you have to be pretty hard to get them to do what they need to do. It's hard to be a parent. You have to pretend to be really hard, but sometimes it's just necessary. It makes them better people. So we finish the yoga of the Regal Science and the Royal Secret, chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. And chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita is yoga of the divine manifestations, where Krishna tells Arjuna where you can find the divine manifestations.